Hello, I'm Dr. Bill, and welcome to Dr. Bill 360, where we explore the essential world of organizational development, leadership, training, and e-learning. Are you ready to transform your personal and professional skills and understanding? Join me as we delve into not just the what, but the how of turning your potential into performance. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's begin this transformation on Dr. Bill 360. So in today's episode, as I promised, I dig into the trouble with DEIB. Again, welcome to today's episode of Dr. Bill 360. Our topic today is the trouble with DEIB. We'll start by exploring why diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, DEIB, often struggles to garner much needed respect and support from the C-suite executives and management. If this resonates with you, please let me know in the comments. Some key points covered today are lack of respect and impactful metrics. The view that DEIB is non-essential. DEIB is an HR initiative seen as a short-term focus. DEIB has ineffective implementation, and importantly, there's resistance to change. So when I say DEIB, that can mean different things to different people. So let me first talk about the meaning of DEIB as I understand it, so we're talking, or at least understanding, the same thing. And what does DEIB look like? Marukian, M. 2022, in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Trainers suggests words have power and words matter. Words are to be chosen with great intention. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We have to be willing and able to explore the multiple dimensions of these words that come together to create a unique identity, right? Unique identities and values around cultural diversity. For business, number one, that can mean, right, this likely means diverse hiring practices. Why? Because it brings with it a wide range of perspectives and ideals that can enhance creativity, innovation, and subsequently the bottom line of a company. Two, is value in it, right? Equitable promotion paths established by clear and fair criteria leading to increased motivation, engagement, productivity, job satisfaction, and also bumps in the bottom line. An inclusive work environment with flexible, culturally responsive practices and open communication leading to employees feeling respected, thus reducing attrition and cost, right? There's a cost benefit there, turnover, creating better collaboration, and so on. And finally, for value, right? Team building and mentoring to promote employees' feelings of connection and support, leading to a strong sense of community and belonging, facilitating increased engagement, loyalty, productivity, and more. So the words diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging speaks to the power of words. And as the saying goes, those with great power have great responsibility, right, to ensure this. A big part of word power, in my experience, is the power of storytelling. When your people do good things, value it. Tell them, right? As I've often said, and will continue to say, stories go to experiences, beliefs, values, perceptions, behaviors, actions, and finally, the results we either achieve, want, or don't want. Some people don't want change. You can tell if you listen, right? The stories they tell, the words, you can tell. First, let's define DEIB and get on the same page. Initially, I wasn't too sure if I had to do this, you know, define DEIB, but we have to know where we're starting from. Before I get deep into the trouble with DEIB, whether you fully agree or not, at least we're talking about the same things. Diversity. Diversity includes all aspects of human identity that shape our beliefs, values, perceptions, influencing our communication, behaviors, interactions, and relationships. Diversity encompasses characteristics like race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, ability, socioeconomic status, education, profession, family status, language, and personality traits. Basically, a country's culture. For example, America's history is a country of immigrants. How do you square that with all the isms out there these days? You can't unless you round the corners. Some aspects like race and gender are beyond our control and likely affect how we are treated. Some hold race, gender, and ethnicity against others. Other aspects, such as religion and socioeconomic status, can change over time, depending on the context. Different aspects of our identity, right, may become more prominent at points in our life, especially possibly if we're in minority or have less power. Equity. Equity promotes fairness. Equity promotes fairness by ensuring everyone has equal opportunities for career advancements, at least get looked at, right? An opportunity, not necessarily given the job. Fair compensation and input into decisions, period. Equity recognizes that some people start with unearned advantages and it seeks to level the playing field. I'm just telling you what it is so we know where we're starting from, right? And we or one can't say that one never really understood or knew what it meant, what DIMB is, right? What DEIB is. Maybe that's a form of equity, right? Knowing, or at least a start. Maybe an example might help. Example. Imagine the staggered starting lines on a track and field racetrack. Right? To make the race fairer, right? The staggered lines on the track make it fair. Some have the inside lane, others have the middle or outside lanes. That's obvious, isn't it? You can see that. Nothing to hide or wrong with that. I mean, the staggered lines, right? I mean, you can see that. It's obvious, right? Well, is it obvious to everyone? Or at best, maybe people just choose to ignore, right? Maybe they choose to ignore what they see. But data doesn't lie, right? People do. You've heard this before. Analytics and data-driven decisions are what organizations need and should use, right? Equity works similarly by acknowledging existing privileges. Staggered start, right? This would include legacy programs during college admissions and job hires, right? And providing opportunities for those who lack them. That's all. It doesn't guarantee anything. It's just an opportunity, right? Just like in track and field, you can still lose the staggered start, right? Or not. You can still lose. Effort and performance is what counts. For example, maybe encouraging a qualified female colleague to apply for a position despite not meeting all the criteria, or supporting a culturally diverse employee to develop skills for career growth, probably ensures fairness and opportunity, right? You would say, for all. A staggered start. she may still be the most qualified applicant because not everybody qualify 100%, right? For example, when I was in the Navy early in my career, I was still enlisted at the time. I think I was an E5, electronics technician on submarines. So I applied for an education program to attend college and get a 2-year degree, right, at Brevard Community College in Melbourne, Florida. You know, I was living at Patrick's Air Force Base or Satellite Beach. My command initially said no because I was short 1 point on my required military entrance assessment scores, right? The ASVAB, you may know this, right? The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. This is how they place you when you come in the military. So before you come in, best you brush up on what you can do with the ASVAB. There's lots of books out there for that. It covers multiple abilities, academic, job performance prediction. So the scoring has changed since back then when I took it. Back then I scored a 109 and the requirement for the college program was a 110. My command wouldn't support. It wouldn't support because of that, because it required a 110. I had 109. So I said, well, would it hurt if I put in a request for a 1-point waiver? Maybe they'll approve it. After that, I practically had to type up almost the whole package myself. Of course, I needed some help, right? God bless Master Chief Personnelman, the admin guy. It was his shop, who yelled and screamed at me each time I went into his office for help. You know, what the heck you want, blah, 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 blah. I just stood there until he finished yelling, cursing, and screaming and said, so you'll help? Everybody else was scared to talk to Master Chief. I thought it was his game, if you ask me. All right. I did not get disrespectful. Look at me now. Some 4 degrees later, doctorate, commissioned officer, now retired, distinguished honorable service and discharge in both submarines, surface ships, and so on and on and on and on. So don't say they can't. Give them a shot. You never know. Words matter, but effort also counts. It counts for everything, right? Yeah. It's a sure thing, right? The power of words and stories. Is this starting to make sense now? The power of words and stories. So we just covered diversity and equity. Inclusion. Inclusion creates an environment where everyone feels valued and respected. Everyone feels valued and respected. Recall from episode 2, the value domain from Bloom's taxonomy. You remember that? Okay. We wanted to go to valuing in the middle, but 2 steps down, we start at receiving or we are aware of the situation. That doesn't mean we do anything about it. We get to the next level, right? Maybe we respond and participate, right? Maybe we engage a little bit. Maybe we show some interest. But we're not there to valuing and appreciating, right? At this stage, we value knowledge and experience, right? It is the start of the development of our opinions, beliefs, attitudes towards different types of subjects or cultural practices, right? Maybe the reshaping of them, right? So everyone feels valued and respected for their individuality. We're all different. I'm not you, you're not me, right? And ensures everyone can fully participate in organizational life, have value, and equal opportunities to use their God-given talents and skills, just as you would. Belonging, right? We don't talk about this one a lot. So inclusion balances belonging and uniqueness. Inclusion balances belonging and uniqueness or individuality mentioned earlier, right? Inclusion fosters a sense of group belonging. It fosters it, right? Such words, right, are about organizational culture talked about in our mission and purpose statements, right? Those are the ones that are there. While acknowledging individual characteristics, right? In the old days, we used to talk about this concept called a mixed salad, in a bowl. All of the cucumbers, the tomatoes, and, carrots and everything else, salad, everything else that's in there in this bowl. That's the organization. So imagine a salad with just lettuce, though. It could be better and healthier. In the workplace, this involves practices and behaviors, the mixed salad, practices and behaviors that promote belonging, encourages diverse ideals and values, unique skills and identities. This is the salad bowl. The key word in power here is value, we just talked about. And not just being aware of others' presence, not just interacting and tolerating, but valuing and appreciating their presence. That takes effort. Again, check out episode 2 for more on that. Okay, that was the first part, right? Okay. There's the so what and the defining of DEIB, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. That's what that is. So now let's address the elephant in the room, right? The trouble with DEIB that includes recent rollbacks in DEIB. Addressing the rollback and trouble with DEIB. By now, most of us have heard about the rollbacks of DEIB initiatives. In case you haven't, let me give you just a few. So in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder in 2020, in 2021, consulting firm Russell Reynolds Associates released a study showing that the hiring of new chief diversity officers, CDOs, within S&P 500 companies have increased, but can barely keep up with attrition over the last 16 months since George Floyd's murder. So there's been an increase, but there's also been some attrition there. Change the culture, change the story. We need to do better. A recent study by DDI, Development Dimension International, a leadership consulting firm, found that companies were shedding DEIB programs and were 25% less likely to report having one, right, than a few years ago, a DEIB program. DEIB officers hired in mass after the protests following George Floyd's murder are now being quietly phased out of their positions, citing numbers from Revelio Labs. A workplace data broker reported that in late 2022, the attrition rate for DEIB officers was 33%, compared to 21% for people in other roles. Many departures are linked to the lack of support given to DEIB leaders who come from marginalized communities. Departing CDOs, right, Chief Diversity Officers, have described a lack of leadership commitment, lack of resources and support, lack of honesty, not being listened to, and gaslighted. If you don't know what gaslighting is, right, my understanding of it is it means to manipulate someone using psychological methods, questioning their own sanity or powers of reasoning. That could be aggravating. According to Sean Harper, a professor at the University of Southern California's Marshall School of Business, There's a wide range of ways companies fall short when it comes to chief diversity officers, including by failing to align their work, diversity, with the business strategy. Now, I am a big believer in this, right? I had a strategy and vision image that I shared on LinkedIn. I'll share here that talks about that. It's a process. Okay, but once you get that process, then you can actually figure out the individual responsibilities and assign scorecards and the whole 9 yards. That's another lecture. The pendulum is swinging back from diversity, equity, and inclusion. And apparently, if you don't move, you might get knocked out. According to sources, Disney's DEIB reorganization laid off staff in its DEIB departments and restructuring initiatives, citing economic pressures and the need to streamline. This was part of a broader layoff, right? Broader layoffs and savings of some 5.5 billion with a B. So their vision is to be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information. Right? Well, the world is changing. Salesforce, Twitter, Silicon Valley, and on and on and on with the rollbacks. Now, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. The trouble with DEIB, quite frankly, is a lack of immediate, tangible, and impactful metrics. Those two words go together. Tangible and impactful metrics. Not or. One can have metrics that are aligned with the strategy and vision of the organization, thus have little to no business impact. That's a problem. In addition, so-called contributing factors to the rollback are due to, as I mentioned, economic pressure, budget cuts, political and social climate targeting DEIB efforts, right? Perceptions of performance over substance in programs leading to a lack of trust, high attrition rates of DEIB officers, and burnout, and so on. There also has been a lack of respect brought about by unimpactful metrics. There's talk of DEIB being non-essential, that it's a HR initiative, a staff initiative, dotted line. Seen as short-term focus, basically ineffective implementation, and subject to heavy resistance to change. Have I said enough? There's more. One major issue with the metrics is the difficulty in quantifying immediate and long-term benefits of DEIB initiatives by those responsible in terms of business impact. Right? Aside from having to avoid lawsuits, yes, we know that. Right, having DEIB, because it's mandatory, right? It's mandated. At least in some countries it is. Let's not discount that. Unlike sales or operational metrics, i.e. the traditional type of metrics, right? Show me the money. The impact of DEIB on an organization's success and bottom line can be less visible and talked about in the short term. Organizations are asking, what's in it for me? I remember when I was working at the Maritime Academy, my old CEO used to say that, what's in it for me? He would say that during some briefings. Why do I want to buy that car? He would say. When I first heard it, I asked my buddy, what car is he talking about? My buddy said, no, man, he's not actually talking about a car. Just that you're trying to sell him something like a used car salesman. He would frequently stop you in the middle of your presentation, take the marker, re-engineer stuff, draw stuff, right? He'd re-engineer your brief to his liking and then ask you if that's what you meant. What can you say? I'm thinking, no, I'm thinking not really. That's not what I was thinking. But he's CEO, right? Right. What do I know? Or should I know? So to be impactful, you have to quantify the benefits, cost benefit of DEIB to the organization in terms of business impact or walk. That's why you're not getting the respect. I call this the Rodney Dangerfield effect, right? Boy, I don't get no respect. You want respect? Take it like everybody else. The CEO wants to know what's in it for him, i.e. the organization, right? Don't run from it. I have a short story on this. When I was in the Navy, my old captain used to chew my butt, right? I have another word for it, you can imagine. He used to chew my butt all the time as a Lieutenant JG or O2 when I was on board the warship, the cruiser. Until the executive officer, the XO, on board, he said to me, "Do you know why the captain is always chewing your butt? It's because when he comes around, maybe you sit or you stand there and you wait for him to get up or start talking. It's too late then." Right? When you're on deck, you have the deck, he comes up, right? When he comes up, you go right up to him. You go over to him. You tell him what's going on, what you're doing, before he asks or get up from his chair. Right? Then you know what he'll do? He'll probably get up and leave you alone. The perception that it's somebody else's responsibility, right, limits DEIB's integration into the core business strategies. What's your business or what's your organization's strategic vision for DEIB, positively impacting the business and opening new markets, customers, etc.? If you don't have one, that is a plan for business impact, again, walk. That's why you're always figuratively getting yelled at. Bounce. The perception of DEIB as non-essential. This is another reason for the rollbacks and challenges and issues, right? Why is that? I ask. I just got through talking about that in the previous paragraphs, right? Why is it seen as non-essential? DEIB is often seen as an optional or secondary focus rather than a major imperative. Nothing should or could be further from the truth. This is how you sell that car. Make it a strategic imperative. Show alignment and chain of evidence, right? Objectives, assessment, evaluation, feedback, continuous improvement, right? Performance. So this perception of non-essential limits DEIB's integration into the core business strategies and potentially positively impacting the organization's bottom line. For example, organizations that prioritize DEIB see improved innovation and problem solving due to diverse perspectives, leading to better business outcomes, market share, and also the customer base. The perception that DEIB is an HR initiative, right? DEIB is often seen as an HR responsibility or dotted line initiative rather than a strategic business imperative in pursuit of the vision, right? Achieving the success of the vision, right? I've said this many times. For sustainable and competitive advantage to be future ready, we need diversity. Yeah, there may be some mandates for it, right? The reason why we're doing it, because we require compliance, which isn't the same thing as business impact. We're not talking about a lawsuit. Whose fault is that? Perception of HR initiatives, or the perception that it's an HR initiative. When DEIB is siloed, right? Siloed within HR, it fails to influence the broader strategic vision, or C-speak, as I call it, C-speak language, speaking the language of the C-suite and executive. Can you talk that talk, right, of the senior executives? People need to be, potentially, I would suggest certified in HRM, right, human resources management, senior human resources management, SHRM, APTD, associate professionals in talent development, certified professionals in talent development, and so on, right? They need to be able to speak that language and know, have some tools, right? KSAOs, right? Knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics. Short-term focus of DEIB officers and executives. Short-term focus of DEIB officers and executives. Many executives focus on short-term results, driven by quarterly targets, revenue, while DEIB requires a long-term commitment to realize sustainable benefits, including business impact. A long-term commitment to DEIB fosters a more inclusive workplace environment, which enhances the employee engagement, productivity, attrition, right? They say when a person leaves, it's about 1.5 times their annual salary, with all the recruiting, training to get one back. There's a cost benefit there. The problem is that with no strategic vision for it, there's nothing noteworthy to evaluate. There's nothing to evaluate. You just stay compliant. Right. So sometimes these metrics are not telling the CEO what he needs to know, right? To make a business impact. Revenues, market share, more customers. Right? You know it, I know it, they know it. Ineffective implementation. Some DEIB programs fail due to a lack of strategic alignment with the organizational vision, right? And insufficient resources. I submit strategy and vision mapping for this. Again, I go back to the strategy and vision tree. It's a bit involved for this lecture, but essentially you need great detail and rich description, and as the branches go out, right, you expand this definition, and it has to be worked out in detail such that you can actually get indicators of what individual scorecards for those responsible and in authority to affect those changes in pursuit of the strategic vision. Without proper integration into the organizational mission and strategic vision, any initiatives may seem disjointed and ineffective. You can't show the money. You can't show what metric. What are you pointing to? What's the business impact? Right. So there, like I said, there are scorecards for this that would go to performance management and rewards, and also achievement of strategic vision. But that's another podcast. When DEIB is effectively implemented, it aligns with organizational values and goals, promoting a cohesive and supportive work environment for business impact. One of the last things is resistance to change. When I hear this phrase, it reminds me of the Star Trek series. I've seen a lot of the Star Trek series, but if you go back, there was a series on the Borg, right? A master computer race, right? You hurt one Borg and the others know it, the collective, as it were. So I'm thinking about AI, robots, and the future. Resistance to change is futile, right? We are the collective. Resistance to change is futile. Is this where we're headed? We're going to have something like that, right? We can't do it, so we enlisted the help of DEIB cyborgs. This is a classic example of why and how people get replaced, become irrelevant. You say it can't be done, and so AI takes your place, and then you complain. The more things change, the more they stay the same. There can be major resistance from those who perceive DEIB initiatives as a threat to their status or privilege. This resistance can undermine the success of DEIB efforts, even though it's clear there are likely beneficial business impacts and revenues as a result. Not recognizing or even ignoring benefits. Successfully addressing resistance and fostering an inclusive culture, possibly through focused feedback and management reporting, along with performance management and rewards, can lead to greater teamwork, collaboration, and driving overall organizational success. Now, I don't want to end, this segment on a negative note, so I'll talk about why it matters, and if there's any interest, possibly follow up in another podcast, leveraging intercultural competence, diversity, equity, and inclusion as a strategic advantage, and bringing it all together, another podcast, bringing it all together, strategic alignment for business impact. So on a more positive note, why DEIB matters, right? It improves innovation, enhances employee engagement, right? You see higher levels of employee engagement and satisfaction, reducing turnover and increasing productivity. Facilitates broader market reach. If you embrace DEIB, you're probably better positioned to understand and serve diverse markets, expanding your customer base. It makes sense. Again, on the improves innovation, diverse teams bring varied perspectives, innovation, and ideals, right? It also promotes better decision making. Diverse teams can make more informed decisions by considering a wider range of perspectives and experiences. It increases company reputation, right? Companies known for the commitment to DEIB attract top talent and build strong, positive reputations in their companies. Another, why DEIB matters, it can facilitate data-driven decision making. To gain respect from the C-suite, speak. DEIB initiatives must be backed by data and clear metrics. This includes using tools like the Intercultural Development Inventory and the Emotional and Cultural Intelligence Assessments. So in conclusion, despite the challenges and perceived lack of immediate benefits, DEIB initiatives are crucial for creating a sustainable and successful business environment. The long-term advantages, such as improved innovation, enhanced employee engagement, and broader market reach, customers, etc., far outweigh any hurdles, right? Remember the track analogy, staggered start. Making DEIB an essential component of any forward-thinking, future-ready organization is a must. Let us not forget why we are in business and emphasize the direct correlation between DEIB initiatives and business outcomes, such as innovation, again, market reach, right, customer base, employee engagement. Talked about this many times. So leave your comments here and online. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. All of this will be posted on the CIWlearning.net website. Episode 3. Also on YouTube. Just Google it. Dr. Bill 360. Having some knowledge of what DEIB is and is not, at least as I've laid them out here. The question is, how can we leverage DEIB for strategic advantage? For more on that, see in future episodes. If you found value in today's episode, please share with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and join us next time as we continue to explore transformational insights and strategies on Dr. Bill 360. So thank you for joining us on this journey of Dr. Bill 360 in episode 3, where we explore the intersections of organizational development, leadership, training, and e-learning. And today, the DEIB. All right, the trouble with DEIB. Remember, every day is an opportunity to learn and transform. For more insights and resources, visit our website at CIWlearning.net and follow us on YouTube at Dr. Bill 360. Until next time, I'm Dr. Bill, and here's your 360-degree transformation. Keep learning, growing, and see you in the next episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button